Uh, hey guys, how's it going? Um, I'm a little confused. So I'm just gonna talk about what you see on screen here. Um, this just kind of happened out of nowhere at like midnight. I was gonna go to sleep, and then this just popped up on my Twitter. So I'm just gonna talk about this. This is the 6.88 patch notes for Dota 2, the video game for the personal computer. Um, I'm very confused because it came out of nowhere. I mean, not necessarily out of nowhere, but very, very sudden, very quick. And I just want to talk about it. I haven't actually played much of 687. I guess is what the previous patch must have been. I didn't play that much of it. I played a lot in the first couple weeks, and then I just kind of played other games. So, my take on this might be a bit weird, might be wrong, but I just want to talk about this because I like reading patch notes. It's pretty cool. So anyway, Abaddon Miscoil cast point reduced from 0.452 to 0.35. Nice changing of the number because I hate numbers like this that just seem like artifacts of like porting from Dota 1 or something like that. Also, there's a nice buff to Abaddon. I think, didn't they change cast point on a Aphotic Shield? I should actually pull up the Wikipedia. I believe they did change the cast point of Aphotic Shield in the previous patch. I could be wrong. Let's see. No, they did not. Okay, never mind then. The point is, though, that Abaddon, his cast times, you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Omni Knight. They're like the same hero, right? His cast times are pretty bad. Like 0.45. This refers to seconds, right? So almost half a second to cast a spell down to about a third a second is a pretty significant change. It's going to matter a lot. Miscoil felt really unusable a lot of the time because of the combination of its low range as well as its bad cast point made it feel pretty bad. But they have buffed it, so that's cool. Animage Mana Void mini stun duration increased. Sure. I believe most mini stuns. Well, mini stuns are actually kind of weird, right? Some of them are longer. Isn't there? One of them's like a point 0.6. I don't remember which one. But there's definitely a mini stun with like a point 0.6 duration. And they're all just like various numbers to fit whatever the effect is to balance it. I like this going up because it does always feel like when you're Animage and you're like, I'm going to Mana Void him, and then you Mana Void him, and then no distance was gained, right? And if your Mana Void didn't kill him, it's just like, oh, this is awkward. Making it stun a little bit more is probably going to help out, allowing you to maybe chase with it better. But at the end of the day, I don't think this is going to blow the doors off of anything. Arc Warden, I love this hero. Not because I'm good at him, because he's cool. So Flux, this is his Q, his ability where he puts a debuff. It slows and deals damage if they're alone, basically. Cooldown is being reduced by 2 seconds. Sure, it's a pretty good buff. Tempest double duration increased by 1 second on rank 2, 2 seconds on rank 3. It's pretty good. And then its cooldown is reduced on early ranks. That's pretty good. I like this a lot. I think people overlooked Arc Warden in the previous patch because he almost immediately got like nerfed to hell, right? He like got released and people were like, "This is busted," and then he got nerfed, and then people were like, "All right, he's dog shit," and people didn't look at like the good parts, right? I mean, now, right, you have over 50% uptime, right? 16-second duration, 30-second cooldown. You have over 50% uptime of Tempest Double. Yeah, it's true that in the previous patch, they did change it so your Tempest Double shares cooldowns with you, so you can't do that bullshit double Midas stuff, but I don't care. Like, it deals the same damage as you, right? And in the last patch, they also removed the cost of it, period, right? So there's no reason not to have this up 50% of the time. It should pretty much, be up 50% of the time. And it literally increases your effective damage by 25%, period. Right? Like, I don't think people are really thinking about that. And obviously, you can make it essentially effectively increase your damage or why did I say 25%? 50%, sorry. 50% damage increase across the board, period, right? But you can effectively just double your damage across the board as long as you're using it in the proper windows, because you're not going to be constantly in battle, right? Some battles will last 30 seconds, and in those kind of battles, it will only have 50% uptime. But in burst windows, small skirmishes, you'll have double damage, period, right? And especially with the changes, like the one to Spark Wraith, where now it has a slow duration of 0.7, and it also purges when it hits them, and it has only a 2-second activation delay, which is down from what it used to be, with a 4-second cooldown that both you and your Tempest double can drop. Like, if somebody has a good micro, they can make this hero insane. I'm sure of it. But he's not in Captain's mode. I'm pretty sure. He could be, actually. I don't remember. Could have sworn he was still not put into Captain's mode with last patch. But if he is in Captain's mode, I'm wrong, and he's probably going to be busted in the pro scene. But I don't think he's in Captain's mode, and for good reason. So, moving on. Bane, Brain Sap cooldown is reduced. More incentive to skill up Brain Sap. Now it just has 1 second off the cooldown every rank, instead of being constant. Sure. I mean, that's fine. Like, Brain Sap, you already leveled it up a lot because leveling up the other two is kind of mediocre. Like, they don't really scale well. In the previous few patches, they've definitely been getting better scaling. Specifically, I think the last patch affected Enfeeble to make it better. I can double check. Enfeeble, right, didn't it used to go up in mana cost and now it just is flat 95? I think that's what it was. I can jump down to the patch notes and find it kind of quick, I hope. Give me a moment. Enfeeble mana cost, right, reduced from going up 10 each level to just flat 95, which is what it used to be at level 1, which is cool. You know, they've made the other things scale better, so might as well make Brain Sap scale better if he's still not being picked, right? Makes sense. Beastmaster Primal Roar damage reduced a bit. 50 on first level, 25 on second level. It's the same damage on level 3. It's fine. I mean, it doesn't really change the hero too much. It just slightly lowers his early game viability, makes it so you might have to commit a bit more to give him experience. If you really care about that extra 50 damage, you know. But I don't think it's going to change too much. Just a very slight shift downward because Beastmaster is a pretty high pick hero. Next we have Bloodseeker. Ruptured damage increased. This is percentage of units traveled. So it's the same at the top end, just slightly buffing the early game. And when I say slight, I mean very slight. I mean 6%. So every 100 units that you travel, which in fairness isn't a huge distance. Your move speed, for example, if you have 300 move speed, you're moving 300 units per second. So let's say you have 300 move speed, you get ruptured. Now you'll take 18 damage more than you would have in the previous patch over a 1 second interval, which is relevant. It's not huge, but it's relevant. Obviously, once you get to level 3, it's the same. This is just to help out because level 1 rupture dealt basically nothing. I think this could probably go up to 30%, and we wouldn't see it being too powerful, but I guess that's without me seeing this in action. Blood Rate cooldown is being reduced. Weird numbers. I don't like this. I mean, I guess for balance, it kind of makes sense to have weird numbers, but a lot of the changes that I've seen in recent patch notes have been all about, like, changing these weird numbers to be, like, normal numbers, you know? Like, abilities that have just 3 decimal places of numbers were reduced to, like, 1 or whatever. I don't know. Seeing them is just weird, but slightly buffing both these spells. That's fine. I mean, I don't think this Blood Rite change is going to be backbreaking. I don't think this Rupture change is going to be backbreaking. All of it together might be enough to push him into the meta, but I don't think so. Bounty Hunter, slight nerf to early game. 20 less gold per track kill at level 6 ult, or I guess level 1 ult. Only 10 less at level 2 ult, and then same at level 3 ult. So slightly nerfing the, like, position 5 bounty hunter, position 4/position 5 bounty hunter, which I'm totally okay with. not much else to say about it. He's definitely a very strong hero. Still will be. They just slightly nerfed him. That's it. Brewmaster, they changed, so now he actually attacks like he's supposed to. In the last patch, they upped the base melee range of like everyone to 150, but they didn't touch the Brewlings from his ultimate. So they changed that. Cool. The fire armor, this is the fire spirit's armor has been increased. So when you get more levels, it's harder to right click down. This is actually a huge change. This is actually gigantic. And then Primal Spirit duration up by 1 second across the board. Sure. But this is huge. One of the biggest problems with Brewmaster is his lack of scalability into late game. And you could buy something like an Ags, you could buy all the aura items, stuff like that to try and stay relevant late game. But at the end of the day, if the other team just right clicked down your Fire Spirit, there goes over half of your damage during ult, right? And then you're just walking around. Obviously, you still have a lot of CC, and CC is very strong, but you lost so much if your Fire Spirit went down. But now with 6 armor in the late game, like that's going to be the difference. Like 1 or 2 more attacks are going to be required to kill your Fire Spirit from like a hard carry, right? And if you're just talking about like supports and stuff, they can't even right click it down. This is actually so gigantic. From 0 to 6 is just a huge jump. So I like that a lot. This might actually bring Brew back. That, and obviously this quote bug fix, it wasn't exactly a bug, but it kind of was. Centaur, double edge cooldown reduced by 1 second, and his strength gain goes up further. Does he have the highest strength gain in the game now? I want to say he does. Did he already? Actually, he might have already. I don't remember. Let me double check. I can get that info to you. I have the wiki open. I can get that info to you real quick, hopefully. Strength growth. He already had the highest by a pretty strong margin too. So he had 3.8. Treant had 3.3. Then Doom 3.2. Pudge 3.2. And then a bunch of 3s and then lower, right? So he already had the highest strength gain in the game, and they're upping it further and also making double edge better. This is just a straight buff to Centaur, like a pretty hefty shove. Obviously, you're getting 1 strength per 5 levels compared to how it was beforehand, which doesn't sound like a lot. And at the end of the day, it's not that much. But every 5 levels, you're getting 20 extra health and 0.03 health regen. We can ignore that. Don't worry about that. But it is going to be relevant. Like at level 25, that's 5 more strength, right? Which is 100 more health at level 25, as well as the fact that Centaur gets bonuses from having strength, specifically Return and his ultimate, Stampede, both scale off of his strength. So having that 5 extra strength is actually going to be pretty relevant to him. So I think these are pretty good changes. I like them a lot. Chaos Knight, Phantasm, cooldown reduced by 10 seconds. I think at this point, Ice Frog is like, I think Chaos Knight's really strong, but people don't pick him enough. I know what I'll do. Let me change a 2-minute, 20-second cooldown to a 2-minute, 10-second cooldown. That'll change everything, right? Or nothing. And people will just be like, all right, Chaos Knight's a hero. Sometimes Ice Frog does make changes like this. Like such a tiny change that will affect a percent of games, if even that, right? Just to make people remember that the hero exists. So, whatever. I think with the introduction of the Echo Saber last patch, Chaos Knight should have been one of the top dogs in the meta. He seems really disgusting with Echo Saber. So, I think this is, at least in my perspective, this does seem like a pretty clear change to make people remember he exists, right? So, there you go. Clink's attack range is buffed by 10. Okay. Slight buff to Clink's. That will matter a lot more than the 10-second reduction on Phantasm cooldown. Like a lot more. Even though 10 units isn't a huge distance, it can be the difference between the final shot getting off and not when the opponent is running away from you. So I think that's pretty okay. It's an okay buff to Clink's. Next we have Clockwork. Rocket Flare radius increased by 25. Not huge. Can help. That is radius, not diameter. So it's actually it's 24 or 25 range every direction, right? So it's a pretty substantial increase. Um, and then power cogs cast point improved by a little bit, and power cogs radius increased by a little bit. And this is actually good. This kind of works twofold. One thing about Clockwork is that there's these really weird moments, even now, since they've changed the way that cogs are laid out, now that they're circular. Well, as circular as you can get with. How many cogs are there? 8? 8 sounds about right. As circular as you can get with 8 cogs, instead of being like a weird square. You still get people like suction cupped into it, that feel like they should be out of it. It's rare, but it still happens. So this will help that a little bit. It'll make people who get sucked in those weird times, it'll feel a little bit more deserved. And at the same time, it'll help you do what Clockworks sometimes plan to do, which is to drop cogs with the intent of pushing somebody back and burning their mana. Having the extra 15 range on that is pretty cool. So I think this is fine. Slight buffs to Clockwork all around is pretty okay. Crystal Maiden, Crystal Nova, radius increased by 25, and Frostbite cast range increased by 25. So slight range buffs to CM. I like seeing this because I do think all of CM's abilities are actually really good. All of them just are actually really strong. But she's not picked because she has slow movement speed and very low health, and also low int. She's pretty weak on the stat front, so I think this is the correct way to change it. Make her spells even stronger, and maybe people will pick her up. I mean, her ultimate's already like the strongest ult in the game, like hands down. It just doesn't always work. So her abilities they're really good. You just got to make them even stronger to overcome her weaknesses, Death Prophet, Spirit Siphon, base health drain reduced from 25 to 16. I don't really have context for this. Let me go to my Wikipedia page. I know what the ability is. I vaguely know what it does. I don't play Death Prophet. I haven't really played her since the rework, so let's double check. What do we got? It's the base health drained per second is reduced from 25 to 16. And then the max drain... I'm so confused. Oh, does that actually not change anything except slightly nerf her early game? So basically, level 1 Siphon previously would drain 25 health per second for 6 seconds. And now it'll drain 16 health per second for 6 seconds. Because there's a minimum, and then the max is a percent of their health. So if the minimum is above the max, I guess they go with the minimum. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. The point is that it's a slight nerf to her early game, which is fine. Because fuck Death Prophet. Disruptor Static Storm Silence no longer lingers for 0.5 seconds after the duration is over. Kind of sucks for Disruptor, but makes sense from a gameplay standpoint. This 0.5 seconds is actually the aura stickiness. It just works on like all auras. It used to affect Chronosphere, if you remember, and they actually had to buff Chronosphere by 0.5 seconds when they removed the aura stickiness from it. Because it was literally just... I mean, either that or I don't actually remember. Maybe they just removed the aura stickiness and were like, it's a nerf, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to get rid of this. Like, the effect is over, it's done, right? Let that be the case. Doom cooldown increased by 5 seconds. It's not going to change much at all. Doom is still Doom, and I don't like that at all, because Doom sucks, and I hate Doom. I hate Doom because I am always the target of Doom. So Doom dooms me, and then I'm doomed, and I don't like that. And this will just make it so he dooms me slightly less often. So, fuck that. Drow Ranger turn rate improved from 0.6 to 0.7. The closer it is to 1, the better. The faster they turn. I believe is 0.6 the slowest? There's another thing I can look up. Let's see. Turn rate. No, the 0.6 is not the slowest. Okay. 0.4 is the slowest. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. So 0.4 is the slowest. Dang. There's actually a lot of heroes with that. And it takes roughly 0.236 seconds to turn 180 with 0.4. Changing from 0.6 to 0.7 is going to make it so he turns 180 in 0.022 seconds faster. Rather, I guess it's Drow. So not a huge difference, but it helps a little bit. Frost Arrow's buff, sure. So very, very slight buffs to Drow might help her out enough. This, along with maybe her building Hurricane Pike, could be good enough for her to be pretty big. I'm not so sure. I did really like the idea of Hurricane Pike on Drow Ranger when I was reading it in the previous patch notes. The idea of creating, 900 distance between you and a target, and then being able to hit them no matter how far they go away for a few seconds is awesome. So I think all of that combined might make Drow really good. Earthshaker Echo Slam radius increased by 25. That is, I guess, just the initial. So that's okay, but without Aftershock radius increasing, I actually should check what that is. What the Aftershock is, the radius on that. If I can find Earthshaker, I can help. I can tell you. I can enlighten you. That's Earth Spirit, not Earthshaker. There's Earthshaker. So, Aftershock has a radius of 300. So, there's already a 275 range in all directions where Echo Slam hits people, but Aftershock doesn't. And now they're upping that by another 25. And it is strictly better. It is strictly a buff, but I don't think it's actually good enough. I think if you're going to change anything, you change Aftershock radius to make them better. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It always feels weird when you play Earthshaker and you blink in and you Echo Slam and it's like, nice, I hit 5 people, but only 2 are stunned. Right? That just feels bad. And it's just because those other 3 people were just on the cusp, right, of your Aftershock. But they still got hit by Echo Slam, but they didn't get stunned. So, yeah, it's obviously gonna help. It's strictly a buff, but I don't think it's a huge one. Enigma Black Hole damage type from magical to pure and pierces spell immunity. That's cool as hell. And then the damage is reduced to compensate. Not reduced by a lot though. At all. It's reduced by 5, 10, 15. Which I think means it's a damage buff. I mean, it has to be, right? Just based on those numbers, it has to be, yeah. So, that's a damage buff. Strictly. And it's even better against BKBs. Sick. Pretty big Enigma buff. I'm not certain he needed it, but maybe he did. I'm not sure. Earth Spirit Magnetized cooldown is increased, so now it only has the 80-second cooldown at level 3, 10 seconds slower on level 2, and 20 seconds slower on level 1. That level 1 is going to actually be pretty gigantic, I think. As a person who, as a connoisseur of Earth Spirit, as a person who's been there since the beginning and been like, yo, this hero's broken every single patch, no matter how many times they nerf him, I like seeing this. And I'm not saying it as a person who's just pissed off at getting killed by Earth Spirit. I say this as a person who plays Earth Spirit. I'm not good at Earth Spirit, but I don't need to be, because he's still busted. Because Magnetize still does 1,000,000 damage, and he still initiates from halfway across the map. But this is a nice step to making him not so broken. Maybe Ice Frog sees that Earth Spirit is still a highly picked hero, depending on the team, and is like, yeah, maybe he's still too good. Gyrocopter, his side gunner attack interval improved by 0.2 seconds. Okay. I actually really like this ability. This is his Aghanim Scepter upgrade, by the way. Every 1.2 seconds now, he'll let off an attack at a random person within a certain range. I think it's higher than his attack range, like a 600 range or so. And that's only with an Aghanim Scepter upgrade. And it is your auto attack. It won't trigger Flat Cannon, but it will work with orbs. So stuff like Scotty, stuff like Deso, stuff like that. Lifesteal, all that. So slight buff to it, I kind of like it. I like it. I actually really like it. I don't think it's good yet, but I like it. Okay, here we go. This is what I want to see. Invoker, Forge Spirit, damage reduced by 7 on level 1, which shouldn't really matter. What does matter is level 4, right? So 56 versus 52. 4 damage per Forge Spirit per attack is going to add up. Kind of wish it was more, but more reduction, but what are you going to do, I guess? And the reason this matters is because the 4 Quas 4 Exhort build to get double Forge Spirits is very strong. So pretty much the level 4 stats for Forge Spirits is what matters the most. So, yeah, it'll help, but still fuck Invoker. This is probably not enough at all. I think Invoker is still stupid. Jakiro Ice Path duration increased by 0.3 seconds at the final level. Okay. Sorry, I'm still not going to play Jakiro. I know a lot of people probably still won't play Jakiro, because Ice Path is still just like half a stun compared to most other stuns. I mean, not literally, right? 2.5 is actually pretty good, but it still feels like a pretty weak stun, especially considering how you have to line it up. It is AoE, but so is Earth Spike, and Earth Spike's faster, easier to line up. It's less range, I guess. I don't know. When you compare it to like stuns of other heroes, which obviously you shouldn't do, you should just think about it on that hero. You shouldn't directly compare it to other heroes with similar abilities, because they're completely different heroes. But when you do compare it to other heroes with similar abilities, Ice Path is probably one of the worst line stuns in the game. It's better now. Still bad. Keeper of the Light, Chakra Magic cooldown is reduced even further. Crazy. Down to 14 seconds on the 4th level. That's actually insane to me. Why did I say 4? 2. 2 seconds. My brain was going so... It was trying so hard to cope with all of these numbers. I was like, 19, 18, 17, 17, 16, 15, 16, 14... What? I don't know. Intelligence increased, base int increased by 3. This is nice. These are nice changes. I actually do like these. 14 seconds on Chakra Magic is so good. Like, so good, right? It's actually so good, right? Let me see if I can find what I want to find real quick on the wiki. I want to look at Coddle. Let's see. I want to find out the buff timer, because he puts the buff with Chakra Magic on you. Whoever he gives mana to, like their next ability will have a reduced cooldown or whatever. I'm trying to remember how much the buff, or how long the buff lasts. 15 seconds. So, now you can meme, dude. So, once you hit level 4, you probably, I mean, you almost certainly can't do it at level 3 chakra, because at level 3 chakra, you still have to deal with your cast animation, which is a 0.3 cast point. So, it doesn't quite work. But at level 4, you can do some hot memes, where now, if you target yourself with it, your next chakra magic on yourself, presumably, will only have an 8-second cooldown. Right? So then you use it on yourself, and then 8 seconds later on yourself, and you're essentially just doing double the chakra in the same amount of time compared to previously if all you're doing is chakraing yourself. That's actually pretty cool. Assuming it works on itself, which I don't know why it shouldn't. So, I like this. I think it's cool. I think it's a cute, tiny, very tiny change, but I like it. So, Kunkka, Torrent slow duration increased by pretty good margin early game. This is the slow after you land from being lifted up by the torrent, of course. 0.75 seconds on the first level, 0.5 seconds on the second level, 0.25 on the third, no change on the fourth. That's pretty good. Because it turns out that a 1 second slow is not good on an ability that already is not that strong. But an almost 2 second slow on that ability might actually be good enough. We could maybe see the return of position 4 Kunkka. We'll see. Tidebringer bonus damage increased further. 15 damage at level 4. That's actually gigantic. That's huge. Because you do, in a situation like in mid lane, right? In a 1v1 lane, you are going to be maxing Tidebringer over everything else. Unless you're an attacker, in which case it doesn't matter what you skill, because you're going to win the game anyway, because you're an attacker playing Kunkka. But most people are going to be maxing this, right? And that extra 15 damage, not only for last hitting, but for harass, for wave clear to go get a rune if you're in mid lane. Like, that's actually going to be huge. And even if you don't look at it at level 4, instead, at your level 5, when it's level 3, you're getting 10 extra damage, right, compared to what it was. And that's pretty big. That's actually pretty big. I like that change a lot. These are good changes. Kunkka got pretty buffed. He's pretty swole. Legion, Commander, overwhelming odds damage per hero increased. You fucked up, Ice Frog. This ability's already Echo Slam. It doesn't need to be more Echo Slam, alright? I mean, maybe it does. But holy shit, dude, stop. Moment of Courage, cooldown reduced. Just 0.3 seconds, 0.2 seconds, 0.1 second. So slightly better with earlier levels, which I actually like. So both of these are just straight up buffs to Legion. And Legion's already the number 1 pick for a do-nothing jungler. That doesn't seem good. Oh well. Moving on. Lich. Scepter now improves Chain Frost slow from 30 to 50%. Woof! That's big. It's actually big. Scepter was already pretty good. Not like a first item. Still won't be, I don't think. But when you do get Scepter, obviously this is going to be pretty big. That extra 20%. In the last patch, they actually changed it, so it actually properly stacked with his Q. I don't remember the name of it. I should remember the name of it. Let's find out. Frost Blast. They did change it so the 2 slows stacked, and it was 30% and 30%. But now, they're going to stack at 30% and 50%. Whew! Ice Armor attack speed slow from 20 to 30, matches movement slow. Sure, whatever, makes sense. That's kind of big, though, the Scepter change. I like that. Life Stealer, base attack time nerfed to shit. Oh, no. They say increased, and make you go, what does this mean? Because when you compare to turn rate, higher number's better. Not better here. Base attack time is how long it takes in seconds for an attack to go off, assuming no attack speed. And 1.85 seconds per attack is not good. Not good at all. This is pretty bad. I mean, it makes him a lot weaker in the late game as well, because base attack time, essentially your attack speed depends a lot on your base attack time. It affects it percentage-wise based on your base attack time. So heroes like Anti-Mage with a very low base attack time. I believe Anti-Mage is still 1.4, right? Or did they buff him at some point? I can double check, because I have the power of the internet. His base attack time? 1.45, so they slightly nerfed it. But, you know, a hero like Anti-Mage with a 1.45 base attack time, he gets... Technically, they get the same value percentage-wise from attack speed, but Anti-Mages will be attacking faster, right? Like, there's no way a Life Stealer can catch up to an Anti-Mage no matter what. Like, if they're both capped on attack speed, Life Stealer is going to be behind Anti-Mage on attack speed, right? Simple as that. Okay, Lina, Dragon Slave cooldown reduced by 0.5 seconds. Sure. Slight buff. Don't really care. Not going to change much, I don't think. Good. Luna, Loosened Beam stun duration from 0.6 seconds to 0.8. Hey, this is the mini stun, right? That I was talking about, that had a 0.6 second duration. To 0.8, though. Oh, dang. It's pretty good. Luna movement speed increased to race car status. From race car to race car. Sure. These are actually pretty good Luna buffs. 5 movement speed is not huge. Might matter. But the 0.2 second extra stun will make Luna a lot stronger in tri-lanes than she already is. She's already strong because Loosen Beam, even in the worst of situations, can almost always be used as a setup stun for, like, specifically talking about, like, a Venomous Gale, for example. But now it's even better. Probably actually lets you get off, like, across your tri-lane an extra 2 or 3 attacks total, just with this extra 0.2 seconds, right? And that's obviously gigantic. That's the difference between a kill or not a kill in early game. So I like that a lot. Next we have Magnus. Empower Cleave Radius is increased by 25 units, sure, and Strength Gain increased by 0.15. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's not insane. Slightly less than 5. It'll be less than 5 strength at level 25. But still a good chunk of strength. Slight buff here. This is a much better buff. Because 25... I mean, that's cleave radius, right? So essentially, you're going to now hit somebody who's 50 units behind the target you're hitting, more, like 50 units more than previous, right? If that makes sense. Because the way cleave works is it puts a box, or not a box, a circle of the radius designated by whatever it is, that is tangential to the target you're hitting. Like, the target you're hitting is on the edge of the circle, not in the middle of the circle, right? So they're on the edge of the circle, and the full diameter behind them, from you, draw a line to them, draw a straight line, full diameter behind them, is the end of it, if that makes sense. It'd be easier if I was actually showing you with my hands, but this is a lot more range. Like, a lot. So, huge. Medusa int gain increased. Woo, that's really good. 0.25 up. That's so good, actually. So that's 1 extra int every 4 levels compared to what it used to be. And obviously Medusa really likes intelligence because of her mana shield. So that's big. I'm kind of terrified that we're going to see 4 Protect 1, huh? With Chaos Knight, Luna, Medusa getting buffs. Oh no. I'm scared of 4 Protect 1, dude. Okay. Moving on. Meepo, Geostrike damage per second increased slightly. I mean, 2 at level 1, 8 at level 4. That's actually big. Because if you have 5 Meepos, right? Because you have 4 with max ulti and then you have a 5th with an Aghanims. You're dealing... Well, how much? I mean, you're dealing literally 40 more damage per second. Per second, by the way. Than you would a previous patch. Just from auto-attacking. Right? That's big. It's actually pretty big. Now you'll deal 200 damage per second without including your right-click damage. That might matter a lot, actually. I hope it doesn't, because I also hate Meepo. Weird. I have all these heroes that I hate, and they're getting buffed. Morphling. Except Doom. He got slightly nerfed. Morphling. Hybrid cooldown reduced from 70 to 60. Agi gain increased from 3.4 to 3.7. What? 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 Hello? What? That's so much Agi. He actually has so much agility now. It's not that high of an Agi gain. It's high, but it's not that high. Let me see who has the highest. I don't quite remember. I'm a liar. He has the highest. It is that high. I'm thinking of Int. Int has, like, somebody who has, like, 4 or something. No? Wait. Oh, there's only Agi heroes. Oh, no. Where's all of them? Okay, I'm sure that... Is there somebody with higher than Morphs? This sucks. I could have sworn it would show me all the heroes if I clicked that. Whatever. Um, there's no strength hero with higher. How about an int hero with higher? There might be. Silencer is 3. So no, Morph has the highest agi gain in the game, and they're making it even higher. By 0.3, mind you. That's pretty crazy. This hybrid thing, I couldn't care less. I believe this is his Aghanim Scepter. He gets to create a copy of, or become a copy of somebody, and can use non-ultimate spells or something. I don't really care. This doesn't excite me. This excites me. Naga Siren, strength gain increased by 0.2. I feel like we're getting 4 Protect 1. Look at all these hard carries getting buffed. I'm kind of scared, man. I'm really scared, man. Just don't tell me Spectre got buffed, because if that happened, I'm gonna cry. She didn't get touched. Okay. I feel slightly better. Okay, Necrolite, Heartstopper Aura range reduced by 300. Oof. Heartstopper HP drain increased by 0.3 at the final level. Okay, this is so irrelevant to Necro. I think Ice Frog wants to experiment with the idea of upping the drain of Heartstopper while dropping down the radius to be more like a... I don't know, because I could see him doing something like put the radius down to like 500, but make a drain like 3%. Right? And that sounds pretty strong. Because then you just run alongside them forever, right? And as you're running alongside them, they're actually decaying pretty fast. Right now, as it stands, the 1200 1.5, it's just kind of a nuisance. 900 1.8, still just going to be a bit of a nuisance. It's not huge. But I could see something like upping it to like 3, right? Just an outrageous number with a low range sounds really cool. And I think he might be experimenting with that idea here. But we'll see. I don't think this does anything yet, but it could in the future. Nyx Assassin movement speed increased by 5. Not going to do much. Ogre Magi Ignite mana cost reduced. Oof. Oof. Wait. Oof. No, hang on. Oof. You telling me that I get to throw the highest damage ability in the game for even less mana at all levels, even 1? Sign me up. Sign me right the fuck up. Just right now, sign me up. I'm sold. I'm already sold. I'm sold. Just sign me up. No, isn't this insane? So he has mana problems. I don't know if you've ever played Ogre Magi, you being you. But at level 1, it's a 5-second duration with 26 damage per second. So it doesn't sound like that much, right? It's 130 damage at level 1. Now for 90 mana. That's really efficient, right? Level 2, still going to be 90 mana. Add on an extra second as well as 8 more damage every second, right? So 34 times 6, which ends up being 204, right? For 90 mana, right? And at the top end, you have 50 damage per second for 8 seconds, which is going to be 400 damage for how much mana? Oh, that's right, 90 mana. Yeah, okay. Did I mention it also slows by 20%? Sure. Multicast interval increased. I actually like this. So if you don't know multicasts, the multicast interval of 0.4, basically the stun of Fire Blast is 1.5, and the multicast interval of 0.4 means that you only get effectively, if you multicast 4 times, you'll get the 1.5 second stun once, and then the 3 previous stuns are all just 0.4, right? So on a 4 times multicast, this is going to increase this stun by a total of 0.3 seconds to be a total of 3 seconds on a 4 times multicast instead of a 2.7, which isn't huge, but it is nice. That 0.3 seconds is actually really nice. Trying to think, because when you do this 3 seconds and then unrefined. Oh, interesting. So now with that slight change. I mean, it's theoretically possible now if you go unrefined Fire Blast, because that is a 6-second cooldown. If you go unrefined, right, and it stuns for 4 times, 3-second duration, and then you go regular after that stun ends, and it stuns for 3 seconds. They're stunned for 6 seconds straight up, and then you can unrefined again, and they'll have had no actions to be taken at all. All thanks to this. Just perma-stun them, dude. Obviously, that's super unlikely, but, you know, edge cases do happen occasionally. Okay, Omni Knight strength increased. Gain went up by 0.15, base went up by 2. It's pretty nice. Nice buffs. Omni is a strong hero, always has been. He just is a victim. He's a victim to, I guess, circumstance. He has a lot of weak points to him, but they're buffing those out, which is kind of scary. You don't like to see when Ice Frog is changing the weak points of the hero. You know something is wrong, and that's kind of what we're seeing with Omni. I wouldn't say that strength was a weak point of his, but this isn't exactly what I would have expected him to buff. This isn't a very Ice Frog buff, but maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll do something. Okay, OD. As you can tell, my voice is getting shredded. My throat is getting shredded because I'm talking for like an hour. How long have I been talking? Holy shit, 46 minutes. Okay. OD, Essence Aura Mana Bonus increase. This is just flat mana pool you get by 50 flat. So just straight up 50 more mana. Sick. And Arcane Orb Intelligence Steal duration increased by 10 seconds. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So this 50 extra mana is actually huge. The scary thing about this 50 extra mana is that his Arcane Orb, which now steals int for longer, deals extra damage based on the mana that he has. Essentially, this is going to make every orb at level 4 orb, it's going to deal roughly 5 more damage than it would previously. All the time, right? That's not explicitly true, because it deals current mana in damage, but more mana is more better for OD, and this is also more mana, so that's more better. So that's pretty good. Scary, but good. Scary because I think OD was on the cusp of being really strong, and I think now he just got catapulted back in to the metagame. Oracle, I mean, the thing that's weird is that this is like all buffs. Like, everyone's getting buffed. A couple people have gotten like slightly nerfed, but like all this is buffs, and it's weird to me. I'm not used to seeing this. Oracle, Purifying Flames cast range increased by 50. Sure. It's not going to change much at all. Phantom Assassin, Phantom Strike can now target spell immune heroes. Holy fucking shit, Poor Protect 1 is going to be so strong. Look at all these carries getting buffs. Oh my god. Okay. I don't know if everybody is freaking out about this, but I'm freaking out about this. Are you kidding me, dude? Okay, so Phantom Strike now hitting spell immune heroes. Phantom Strike is her blink. The problem with this is that PA's biggest weakness is that if you buy BKB, she can't really hit you. You just kite her. She has 2 ways to catch up to you, both turned off by spell immunity. But now, you can't turn off Phantom Strike, which is the scarier one. Well, maybe not after the last patch. Maybe Dagger is scarier in some cases, because it deals damage based on your damage. Either way, PA is fucking horrifying now. And I don't like it. Maybe I do like it, but I don't really like it. I don't know. Sunray base damage. Oh, you know what? Now that I'm looking at this, I can think back to the Death Prophet thing and understand that the base damage, it just always deals that damage plus the % of their health, similar to how Sunray works. So that was straight up just 9 damage per second chopped off at all ranks for DP. And this is just 5 damage lopped off per second at all ranks. Cool. Thank God. Fuck this ability. It's still too much, I promise, but it's better. Pudge, Rot Slow increased. Fuck yeah. Dismember cooldown reduced. Fuck yeah, my boy, Pudge. Woo! It might be too much. Ice Frog, you're playing with fire here, man. This is playing with fire is what this is. All right, this is playing with fire. 20-second dismember cooldown. Allow me to pull up some numbers for you to really let this sink in. Okay, so now Pudge with the correct item build. Now reasonably, you're not gonna expect to get all of these items, in the same game and blah 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 blah. But let's say you do. Let's say that you get Aether Lens, Aghanim Scepter, Octarine Core, all in the same game. Along with, let's say 3 hearts. That part doesn't matter. But, let's see. You have a hook on a 3-second cooldown. With the Aghanims and Octarine, it's a 3-second cooldown. That deals 450 damage plus the 8% from Aether Lens plus some percent from all your int. Let's just say for simplicity's sake, 500 pure damage nuke on a 3-second cooldown with a, a 1500 range? That's fine. Then, you have a 30% slow that deals 120 damage per second, plus extra based on your int and Aether Lens, right? That you can just always have on. It damages you, sure. But it's a 250 radius. It's pretty good. You also get permanent strength for killing people, just straight up. So that's pretty cool. And then you have a 20-second cooldown, 3-second stun that stuns through BKB that does damage, base damage of 120 per second, right? So 360 damage, plus half of your strength per second. 20-second cooldown, right? That's fine. Moving on. Pugna, int growth 4.5. Alright, this is becoming a meme at this point. 4.5 int growth, huh? 4.5? How much higher? I mean, he had the highest, right? Int growth. Oh, they updated the wiki. Good job, guys. Highest was Pugna and Invoker at 4. They updated the wiki while I was doing all this research. Cool. 4.5 int per level. Nether Blast cooldown also reduced by 0.5 seconds. That's actually going to be huge. This means in the course of what? I mean, I guess it's every 10 blasts you get a free one now. Which doesn't sound that good. But when you're non-stop pushing, it is that good. I mean, how many blasts does it take to kill a tower? It's not 10. Especially not with creep sitting. It might matter, though. It probably will matter. I mean, if you're blasting 4 times, you have 2 seconds to spare. Right? And those 2 seconds could easily be the difference between you getting out away from the tower while somebody's TPing in and you not. So, I think these are huge. This is big, rather, and this is funny. And might be big. The thing is, now that int makes your spells scale, that's good, right? It's got to be good. Razor. The storm damage per strike increased by 357. That's really good. And every strike, remember, does decrease armor as well. And it does physical damage. That's really good. And doesn't Ags also make it strike more? Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. 7 strikes. Because if I recall correctly, it strikes at a pretty rapid interval. I can pull it up instead of just using ambiguous words that mean nothing. It zaps every 0.5 seconds at level 3, 0.4 seconds with an Aghanim Scepter at level 3. They didn't fully update the wiki. People are updating the wiki piece by piece. That's fine. That's pretty big. I mean, okay, so every second, you're getting 14 extra damage. That's pretty big, actually. I like it. Ricky, Smokescreen mana cost increased. Good. Fuck Ricky. Sand King, Epicenter cooldown reduced. 20 at level 1, 10 at level 2, 0 at level 3, and strength increased just by 1. Base strength up by 1. Okay. Epicenter at level 6, like immediately you get level 6, you go to Epi a lane, and you miss. Now it's slightly less punishing, and you can do another gank 2 minutes from now instead of almost 2.5 minutes from now. I like it. Good change. Shadow Demon Disruption Illusion duration increased by 2 seconds across the board. Well, clearly Ice Frog wasn't watching Manila Major, especially not with these Centaur buffs. But that's okay. It's a good buff to Shadow Demon. It's a good buff to an underplayed hero, for sure. Shadow Fiend movement speed increased by 5, and Necro Mastery max souls increased by 3 at level 1, 2 at level 2, 1 at level 3, 0 at level 4. That's actually really nice. Having those 3 extra soul slots might actually mean you might be able to grab an extra point in presence early with this. Maybe not, but maybe. That 3 extra might actually be really relevant. I think it'll depend more on the lane that you're in. You'll pretty much never ever see a level 3 second point Necromastery at this point, I think. I think it's so unlikely to see it, rather. Because most of the time you would go 2 Raise, 1 Necromastery at level 3. But on occasion, if you were like last hitting like a golden god, you would actually forego the second level and raise, so you could actually stack your souls up even higher, which would help your last hitting more. You wouldn't have like the wave clear as much, but you'd be better in the 1v1 last hitting. But now you probably never see that with the 3 extra souls. But I don't know. I mean, it's not big either way. Shadow Shaman Mass Serpent Ward's splash radius increased from 75%. What does that even mean? The radius increased from 1% to 1%. I don't believe that's correct. I think that might be a mistype of some sort, because that straight up doesn't make sense. Let me check Shadow Shaman to see if I can get some context and make it make more sense. Right, it means splash damage. It must. Because currently on the wiki, it says the splash radius is 175 and splash damage is 75%. So I'm assuming this is damage, which means that if you're in the 175 radius, it's as good as being hit. And that's spooky. Like, holy shit, that's spooky. Okay. And their attack damage also got buffed? Buffed. Serious? So 5 on level 2, 10 on level 3 per Serpent Ward. And you summon 10 Serpent Wards. So you're literally, in the first volley of attacks, you're dealing an extra 100 damage flat at level 3. That's bananas. Silencer, base agi upped by 6. Hello, position 1 Silencer. Okay. They really like this whole... Ice Frog really wants to push like hard carries back into the meta, which is reasonable. Hard carries, like they're hard carries, but like the meta is very up in the air right now, and it centers a lot on pushing and fighting, and not so much on farming. And this huge shove for position 1 carries might actually be enough to shift it towards farming. And I kind of like that. Scarith Mage concussive shot impact AoE increased from 200 to 250. Okay, slightly better. To be honest with you, I think most people probably don't even know concussive shot has an AoE. So maybe this is going to help. Slark, pounce damage reduced by a chunk. Thank you, God. Sniper shrapnel damage increased. This is per second, so 15 damage per second. Really? 15 damage per second, huh? Ho-ho. Haha. Shrapnel. Jesus. In the last 10 seconds, obviously you're not going to stand in it the full duration, but he can throw down 3 shrapnels in a line, making you stand in it for like 6 or 7 seconds. And in that case, shrapnel's going to do a lot more damage, right? Crazy. Actually, just Crazy Town, USA. Like 100 more damage, just flat. in a chasing situation, I think. Crazy. Okay. Spirit Breaker, Greater Bash, increased damage. This is percent of your movement speed, by the way. 6% more of your movement speed. It's pretty good. Assuming you have 400 move speed, this is going to be an extra 24 damage. Doesn't seem bad. I don't remember if this counts charge. I could check that. It might not even say. You might have to test it or have had somebody test it. Let me check. Because you do bash people when you're charging. And I'm wondering if that bash while you're charging is affected by the locked-in speed of charge of like 800 or whatever. The wiki's having trouble loading. There we go. Charge speed 750. Let's see here. It's got to be somewhere here, right? Okay, this also means that Greater Bash does not deal damage based on the charge speed. Okay. Unfortunate, but, very slight buff might be good enough. Spirit Breaker is pretty strong. I don't think it'll be good enough, but it might. Problem is, Spirit Breaker does have a really, really bad base attack time, which is kind of the point, because you don't want him attacking fast with this ability. So you can't really solve that problem, but I think it's not enough. Not quite enough. Storm Spirit, Overload damage increased by 10 across the board, and Overload AoE increased by 25. Cool. Slight buffs. I don't know enough about Storm Spirit. I play him an okay amount. I'm not great at him. I'm gonna defer to Blitz Dota on this one. So follow him on Twitter, I guess. I would defer to Blitz on this, whether this is good enough or not. I honestly don't know. Templar Assassin Psyblade's spill width increased from a weird number to a slightly less weird number. I don't like this, though, because it makes it so it'll hit more often. And Psionic Trap max movement slow is increased by 10%. So if you don't really know what this means, essentially the Psyblades you hit, and then it has a certain range, which I'll double check now, so I'm not getting it wrong. Templar Assassin. So it has a range that it hits behind the target. The range is... Is it that high? Holy shit, are you serious? Okay. That's why it always feels like I'm hit from a football field away. Spill range is 590, 630, 670, 710 for the 4 levels. So let's just go with 710. The width is essentially, you're creating a cone, right? And the width is the total width of the end of the cone at the end of the 710 range. So you're getting an extra 7 total range, so 3.5 on each side of the center units at the end, which doesn't sound like a lot, and it really isn't, but it'll still feel bullshit because I think this ability is perpetually bugged and likes to hit me at 90-degree angles. And I guess that's going to keep happening. So, Terrorblade, conjure image mana cost reduced by 10, and the duration increased by 2. That seems okay. It's not going to shove him back into being like mega ultimate carry mode or whatever. It's nice though. Because he does have mana problems. The 2 extra duration doesn't really matter. It'll give you a very, very slight overlap of 3 conjured images because the cooldown is 16 seconds. So currently you can overlap 2, and when you're about to summon the 3rd, the first one dies. Um, but now you have like a very small interval where you can overlap 3. So that's kind of cool. Does it matter? No, probably not. Slardar movement speed reduced by 5. That's fine. I don't know much about Slardar. Again, I haven't played much Dota recently, and I only watched a little bit of the Manila Major, so I'm not certain. I'm assuming Slardar must have been picked a good bit, but if he wasn't, this feels kind of weird. Tiny toss cooldown reduced by a second. Woo! My boy Tiny. And if you're watching this, chances are you're a fellow seeker of truth. And what I would like to say to you is please be smart when you're skilling your Tiny. Don't go 4-4-0-0, okay? Don't hard max Avalanche or hard max Toss, okay? Do the smart build. At level 5, you want 3 points Ava, 2 points Toss. At level 6, you put a point in Ultimate. At level 7 and 8, you go Toss, Toss. And then at level 9, you go Ava. And that's it. If you don't know why that is, you can do the math yourself. The gist is, this fucking ability, for no reason, has the dumbest scaling you've ever seen, where it goes 80, 80, 40, right? And this also deals double damage on enemies who are lifted into the toss, right? So essentially, what that means is you want to max Ava, because it does increases, the damage increases by 80 each, which is 160 each rank, because you're dealing double with the toss, and the toss only increases by 75 each rank, so you don't want to max the toss. However, the 80 from the Ava for the 3rd to 4th level is actually not better than the 75 from the toss, because toss at that point is also affected by the bonus damage from grow. Anyway, that's it. I'm just saying that's the highest burst you can get at every single level is following that build, okay? So, do that. Anyway, sorry about that weird tangent. I'm really annoyed when I see Tinies doing stupid builds. Treant, base damage increased by 6. Okay, so he already hit like a truck, or a tree, I guess, and now he does more. Sure, what was his previous damage? Base damage. 87 to 95, is that updated? If that's not updated, he could be hitting for 1 hundo. Okay. Yep. No, that seems alright. Troll Warlord. Berserker's Rage. No longer provides 100 health bonus. I could have sworn they already removed that. Didn't they already remove that? I'm thinking of something else. Strength increased by 3, more or less to compensate. It's only 60 health from this, but it also affects you in ranged mode. Berserker's Rage armor bonus increased by 3. Base attack time improved by 0.05. And ranged whirling axes travel distance increased to be a nice number and also buffed. This is nice. So this 3 strength means that you have 60 more health, and this 3 armor. I don't fully know the numbers, but I feel like this equates to slightly more than 100, the 100 effective health of this. Not to mention slight buff here with the base attack time, making him slightly better carry, and the range whirling axis slight buff. It seems pretty good. I think Troll Warlord could probably come back. He can make a comeback, although you probably shouldn't call it a comeback because he's in fact been here for years. Undying, intelligence gain increased by 0.3. Decay cast range increased by 25, and decay duration increased by 5. What the shit, dude? I guess it's because it's a combination of Undying not really being played, and also probably the fact that he's pushing all of these like position 1 heroes so hard that a hero like Undying, who drops off like, you know, his effectiveness as the game goes on, drops off like he's falling off of a fucking cliff at like the 20-minute mark. This does help him in that regard, the specifically the growth. And then these are just kind of nice little buffs. So it makes sense. But all he wants to do is eat his gummy vitamins. So I don't see anything about gummy vitamins. So I'm going to say bullshit. Ursa. We got Furious Swipes debuff duration increased by 5 seconds. That actually might matter, like a lot. And base HP regen up by 0.5. Wow. These are actually nice Ursa buffs. Which kind of makes sense, because Ursa's niche of killing Roshan kind of got killed, like straight up murdered in the back alley in the last patch when they buffed the shit out of Rosh. So I like this. I like these buffs, because they might actually help him get back into killing Rosh easily. Specifically, the health regen is going to matter a lot. And this extra duration could matter, like for fights surrounding the Rosh pit in early game. Getting the Fury Swipes to stay on Rosh that extra 5 seconds might actually be super relevant in some situations. So I like it. Venomancer increased, so 0.05 growth up. Not a huge deal. I'm just making the number nicer and slightly buffing. I mean, at level 25, what? How much is that at level 25? 25 times 0.05. Why is that such a hard thing for me to think of? Is like, what is that, man? Dude. It's fucking like 1. Okay? It's not a lot. But the 2 base is good, right? So that is good. He has mana problems, so this helps a lot. And Plague Ward's damage buffed by 3-3-2-2. Sure. That's spooky, though. Buffing Plague Wards is a scary notion, because those are really good at defending high ground. I think this Shadow Shaman and all of the farming carries being buffed really feels like Ice Frog wants to shove away from pushing meta, which is really cool. I like it. This is a good way to push away from pushing meta, and not the bullshit that he tried to pull in, what was it, 682? The meme back patch? Yeah, this is a good way to do it. Viper Strike Scepter cooldown reduced by 2 seconds, and his strength gain increased by 0.2. Very slight buffs. You're always going to buy a Scepter on him, so lets you just do more ults in a fight. Every 5 ults, you get a free one. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Visage Gravekeeper's Cloak armor bonus per layer increased by some. Okay. See, my eyes just kind of gloss over when I see this. Also, how bizarre. 1, 2, 3, 5. So they changed that scaling. And then the magic resistance bonus per layer increases as well. So this just makes him tankier. This is just his passive that makes him tankier. When he gets hit with an ability, he loses layers. So this is just strictly buffing him, making him slightly more tanky, which is reasonable, I think. Oh, there's items. Okay, Winter's... I mean, obviously there's items, come on. Winter Wyvern, Winter's Curse cooldown reduced from 90 to 80. Slight buff, makes sense. They did change Wyvern a bit in the last few patches, just kind of shifting her abilities around to be a little bit different. And she's definitely a bit on the weak side currently, so I do like this buff. And we got Warlock. Golem HP increased. Oof. And you can't... I believe they did change in the last patch. You can't purge him now, right? Fatal Bonds no longer gets reduced by damage block. Oh my god. These buffs are actually terrifying. I thought last patch 687 I was being like, the Warlock's so good. He's getting buffed. It's crazy. Yeah, it appears as if they can't be killed with a dispel anymore, with a purge anymore. When did that happen? That happened in 685? Seriously? Was that long ago? What did they change last patch? Flaming Fist would always deal damage at lower numbers. That and Shadow Word got buffed. And Fatal Bonds got buffed. So, yeah. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Weaver, base damage increased by 2. Nice. Weaver is my best hero, I think. I have like a 7 KDA, like a 7.0 KDA over like 40 games or something. So I'm an okay Weaver. I like this change, especially because it's not too much. Because if it was like more, then Geminate would be disgusting. Geminate's still disgusting with this buff, but I think it's nice. It's a nice little buff without being too much. Wind Run cooldown reduced by 1 second. That's so irrelevant. I don't even care. Wisp tether movement speed bonus reduced slightly by 1%. I don't even care. This is nothing. These are nothing. Wraith Fire Blast damage over time increased by 15 per second. Does it deal like 4 ticks? 4 sounds about right? Because like a 2-second stun with like a 2-second slow, ticking every second for the whole thing. Yeah, it doesn't actually say. So I don't know. I think it's just 4 ticks though. So that's 60 more damage at max level. That's pretty good. Zeus Arc Lightning cooldown reduced by a little bit. Fine. Slight buff for Zeus. Poor Zeus last patch got manhandled. So I do like this as a Zeus player, as a filthy Zeus picker. I like this slight buff. It's actually not so slight. Roughly every 10 casts, 11 technically, you'll get a free one. That's without including Octarine Core. And every cast triggers Static Field. So that actually is pretty good. I like that a lot. Items. Armlet Recipe cost increased slightly. Yeah, slight nerf to some strength heroes. Sure thing. Bloodthorn crit strike multiplier increased by 0.1. Sure. So instead of dealing 135% damage, you deal 145%. And everybody does. Everybody does. Sorry, I'm drunk. I'm not actually, but sound like it. Cool little buff to Bloodthorn, which is an item everybody was freaking out about, myself included, but found out in practice, not that strong. Strong, not that strong, though. Butterfly Agi increased by 5. Yeah, okay. Position 1, I get it. Crimson Guard cooldown reduced by 4. Sure. Dragonlance Strength and Agi reduced by 1 each. And attack range bonus increased by 10. That's an okay trade-off. I'm not too broken up about it. 1 strength and 1 agi is not huge. 10 attack is also not huge. I don't think it makes a huge difference either way. Hurricane Pike attack range bonus increased by 10 as well, just transferring from the Dragonlance. And active now grants 100 attack speed for the 4 attacks. That's cool. So now you just rattle off those 4 attacks even quicker. So you have actually more incentive to use Hurricane Pike offensively. So that's pretty cool. I actually like that a lot. Rod of Atos, cooldown reduced to 10 seconds. Yeah, okay. I get it. Build Rod of Atos. Yeah, Ice Frog, I hear you loud and clear, man. Still not going to do it. Smoke of Deceit now has a 1 second cooldown on use to prevent accidental usage. Sure thing. Doesn't really matter. It'll prevent accidental usage, and that's what it's intended for. Holy shit. What a long patch notes. What a long ramble. Thanks for watching. My main thoughts to summarize is I think 4 Protect 1 is back. And if 4 Protect 1 is not back, then at least farming meta is back. And I kind of like that. I like a shift in the meta caused by just a lot of tiny little number tweaks. None of these are huge. A few of them are good. I think probably one of the biggest ones is actually Pudge. This 10 seconds off of already a short cooldown is pretty gigantic. So I do like that a lot. That might actually be the biggest change in this patch. That or OD's changes, which don't sound big, but they might end up being big. Hard to say, but fact of the matter is, it looks like we're back to farming meta, and if we're not, then at the very least farming will be more viable. Like hard farming will be more viable. That's kind of cool. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Sorry for rambling. talking your ear off for an hour 20. But hope you guys enjoyed. And I hope you guys, enjoyed enough to maybe, I don't know, maybe like and comment and subscribe to my channel. Those would be pretty reasonable things to do, I think. And maybe yell at me for what I got wrong, what I read wrong, what I misinterpreted. But I don't think I fucked up anything aside from that Death Prophet thing, which I did correct myself on. So, there you go. Those are my thoughts on the 6.88 gameplay update that just came out of fucking nowhere immediately after the Manila Major. So, props to Ice Frog trying to get the patch out early. Because I'm assuming this is going to be the TI patch. It'd be kind of weird for this not to be at this point, because TI is pretty soon. And also that would be like 3 patches in like a 5-month time span or something like that, which is a bit outrageous for Dota 2. And by a bit, I mean a lot outrageous. Especially considering we've gone, I think the longest we went without a patch was what, like 8 months or something like that? Maybe longer? I don't really remember. And I mean major patch, not just like, oh, but they were like minor patches. But I mean like major patch. I think it was like 684 or something was one of the longest. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the good shit. And I'll see you guys later.